Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm really excited and thankful for today's presentation. We want to welcome you all here today. Thank you for spending some time to explore careers in crypto. My name is Darren Carter. I am a program manager on the Coinbase Giving team. My focus is on advancing crypto literacy and making events like these accessible to our community, which is why I'm so excited for today. The goal is to build a safe space for us to explore crypto together, and we have some amazing guests joining us today. So as a quick high level of what we want to do for today, we'll be meeting 4 amazing panelists, as I mentioned, but before we do want to cover a little bit about Coinbase, about our mission, and then we want to go to the panel where we can all talk about how everyone can get involved and explore a career in crypto. All right, so I understand that this might be some of your first time getting to dive into cryptocurrency, and that might be one of the reasons that you joined today. So before jumping to the panel and talking about the company, we do want to start with a very quick video to get things kicked off so everyone is welcomed into what we are calling the future of finance. Let's do it.
We use money every day, but we rarely appreciate its power and its flaws. It's a tool that has been at the center of human progress. And as we build bigger and tackle complex problems, we're going to need the best tools available.
We have a global economy. We're going to need a global digital currency.
Cryptocurrency is going to be a great democratizing force for the world because it's going to level the playing field and allow anybody with a cell phone to access financial services.
This is going to transform how we think about a real global economy. I think in order to understand its importance, we first have to define what currency means. What currency does is it actually allows us to agree upon the value of something. It's almost like a communication tool.
There are different ways of coordinating human beings. One way that you can do that is with money. You can incentivize people to try to work on the same thing at the same time.
We started off building simple systems like a bridge crossing a river to very amazing things like rocket ships. We went from interacting with our neighbors to now transacting with each other around the world. And we want to make sure that people can move money freely. And our current financial system just doesn't enable that.
So the current systems are very centralized. And so we have big banks and big governments. There's a lot of middlemen who make things incredibly inefficient.
When you talk about the problems of the existing financial system, you can go to a situation like Venezuela where money is being printed and folks' savings are basically being destroyed.
The value of their wealth has been completely eroded. I think a lot of us in the United States sort of take this idea for granted that if someone gives us money, it'll be in our bank account and it's not going to disappear or be taken away from us. And that's really a luxury that many people in the world don't have at all. There are about 1.8 billion people in the world today who have a cell phone but don't have access to any financial services. And what's really powerful about cryptocurrency is that it lets anybody, if you just have a smartphone and internet connection, participate in the global economy.
What cryptocurrency does is takes the stability that we have and gives it to the rest of the world.
If I have a dollar bill, I can hand that directly to somebody else. There was no bank in the middle there. With digital currency and blockchain, it's actually more similar to cash, yet again, where I can send something directly to somebody else, and I don't necessarily have to go through middlemen like a bank or a credit card company.
We can go back to how we normally transacted, which is directly with each other without all these giant central parties in between.
When computer scientists talk about the concept of so-called decentralization, what they mean is to avoid this idea of a single point of failure.
A single point of failure like we have with institutions.
If you have a single bank and that bank has all your money and then that bank fails, well, everyone's out of money. Whereas if you have lots of different individual nodes, hard drives and phones and so on that have some money, well, they're probably not all going to fail at the same time.
So you no longer need the middleman to keep track of an internal ledger. All these computers are writing everything down for you.
That network effect makes it unbreakable.
So technology makes us richer and wealthier because you need less time or less money or less effort to get something done.
Right now, when people think of crypto, I think they think of investment.
There's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of talk of prices and how much money has been raised, but it's really important to see past that.
It'll shift to people actually using cryptocurrency to buy goods and services and transact in the economy.
And that's not just send money back and forth, that means employ each other or fund each other.
A more global economy is important because there is talent everywhere, but opportunity is not evenly distributed.
In a world where this technology is fully adopted, it won't matter what country you're born in. All that will matter is that you have a mobile phone and internet connection, and you have skills and knowledge to learn, and you can contribute to the global economy. You can benefit from the world, and the world can benefit from you.
Think about what kind of economy we could have if we had a global currency that we were all responsible for and all invested in. It opens up opportunity for everybody.
Just being able to trust that if I do good work in the world and someone compensates me for it, I will be able to keep that wealth. That's such a powerful idea that it actually encourages people to try to do more good things in the world.
If you've got lots of people who are invested in each other's success, literally, they're invested in each other's success at a broader level.
I think cryptocurrencies are going to be as impactful to humanity as the internet has been.
Digital currency and blockchain can bind us in ways that we wouldn't be bound before.
Wow, I think that video is so powerful. There are a few quotes that I usually pull from that as far as the importance of a global economy and like the promise of what we can build in this next generation. And I think crypto is something that actually uniquely enables that. The analogy of when you pass cash from one party to another, completely peer-to-peer, no intermediary, and then like using that as an analogy to today's current banking system, I think helps people understand cryptocurrency, understand the mission that we're on. And really speaking of the mission, Coinbase's mission is to increase economic freedom in the world. And economic freedom is a composite measure of 12 different factors, but it's all centered around your labor rights and your property rights. And there's two resources that I recommend everyone goes to learn more about like economic freedom and really dive into this theory. First would be the Coinbase blog. I think Brian just published an article that describes economic freedom as a principle, and then also talks about where crypto does and doesn't kind of move the needle there. Things like financial inclusion and like the ability to have a sovereign currency and other factors that are really, really important when we're building this global economy. And then the next one that I personally like is the economic freedom heat map. So if you just Google that, you'll learn more about economic freedom. But in summary, our mission here at Coinbase is to increase economic freedom in the world. We believe that crypto is a major factor in doing that. So now at Coinbase, we're all organized around our cultural tenets. I'm not going to read all 10 that are here, but I do want to pick out, again, a few personal favorites. One being act like an owner. I think in all senses, whether you're in crypto or in nonprofit, the tenet of act like an owner is going to help you be your best self and help like the team accomplish the best results. Secondly, championship team. No success is your success. It is all a team effort. And I think if everyone brings that championship mentality, you're going to look back on your career and it's going to look something like The Last Dance. So it's going to be a very fun journey. And then finally, continuous learning is one of my favorite tenets. Personally, not only do I learn every day by just being in crypto because things change day to day, but I also have enrolled in a master's program for digital currency for just advancing my own career and just taking my own educational journey very seriously. So those are my top 3. These are our 10 cultural tenets here. I'm sure some of our panelists can also speak to some of their favorites and how this actually plays out on a day-to-day basis. All right, so still speaking about Coinbase itself, again, our idea is to help advance economic freedom in the world, and we acknowledge that we live in a global economy, and as such, the locations that we serve are reflected in that. So you'll see at the top a bunch of amazing cities here in the United States. We are also international as well, and we are a remote-first company. The reason I say that is wherever you're dialing in from, we want to engage talent. And in that video, they said that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. So being a remote first company is one way that we're trying to meet talent where talent is at. All right, the last slide before we get to our panel, I want to give a quick shout out to all the Coinbase products. A lot of you may know Coinbase like the main retail app, but there are so many products and services within the Coinbase portfolio that it's fun to explore all of this. So in the Connect the Crypto Economy section, I want to highlight the Coinbase Card. I feel like this is the easiest way to onboard to crypto per se. It acts just like a debit card. I'll also give a shout out to Coinbase Earn. This is the best way to learn about a new topic and then earn some money for doing that. On our right side, we have other products that I want to give a shout out to, like Coinbase Wallet. Self-custody is very important. I'm sure people who are crypto savvy have already either downloaded a Coinbase Wallet or another wallet to go buy your favorite NFTs. And then finally, a shout out to Give Crypto, which is our 501c3 that's doing good by giving crypto directly to those in need. There's a bunch of other Coinbase products as well. I also encourage you to visit the website because there's new products spinning up every day. All right. Finally, I am so excited to get to the panel portion. We are joined by 4 amazing professionals. I'm going to have each person introduce themselves. So first, I want to invite Joel McGill to the stage. Give us a little bit of your intro and continue to pass the mic. So Joel.
Sure. Thanks, Darren. So my name is Joel. Pronouns he, him, his. So I went to FIU, school down in Miami originally, but that actually did not put me on my journey into tech or crypto. I went to Full Stack Academy where I learned to code, and that kind of put me on my journey. Currently, I work at Coinbase as a software engineer on the onboarding team, helping people get onboarded onto the platform, as well as the login service. Making sure that people are able to log in very securely. Really, like a lot of people asked me in the past year, like how I've made my way into crypto, how I've made my way into tech. Looking at my background, I've come from a background of like project management and construction. And to me, it's really divine. It started with me essentially being laid off 3 times in 1 year right before the pandemic. That kind of pushed me into taking a bootcamp prep course just to see if I was interested in code. Originally, I had been planning to transition into tech via like the project management route, but that wasn't in the cards for me. And so I made the decision to dive, headlong into a bootcamp. And in my bootcamp prep, I ended up meeting my my future referrer to Coinbase, who ended up being my teacher. And then I met Daniel, who's here on the call, and interviewed me and got the process started. And that's why I'm here today. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to Felice.
Hey, everybody. My name is Felice Jackson. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I graduated from Hampton University, and I work here at Coinbase as a senior project manager in the project management office. So how I got to Coinbase, I think I'm actually the exact opposite of Joel. I was trying to run away from tech. There was nothing about technology that I wanted to be sucked up into. But as I marched throughout my career, started in financial services, FinTech became just the natural progression. And, after I got into FinTech, I looked into crypto. My dad is a huge crypto person. So I said, all right, let me take a look. But much like Joel, I got in on a referral from a former teammate. And so got here, actually really love it. I'm sure we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the panel, but it's a great space for me. Project management is a great space for me. I didn't start out as a project manager. In fact, I had no clue what I was trying to do when I graduated from college. So I just kind of felt my way through and found this niche, and it's something that actually works really well for me. So I will pass it over to Tamia.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So my name is Tamia Hurst. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am an HR business partner here at Coinbase, specifically supporting our trust and risk organization, which is just legal, compliance, government affairs. So that's the organizations that I am aligned to. I graduated from the Tennessee State University. Okay, I have to make sure I underscore that. And kind of like how I got here, I thought about it as Joel was speaking, because I thought about it like my answer was like I interviewed. That's how I got here, but that's not the real truth. The real answer is my little brother, actually he's been very heavy into the crypto world, and I kind of like applied to the job because like of him and his passion, and I wanted to be like that cool big sister that worked at Coinbase. And so like when I told him I got an interview, he was like, oh, that's dope. And so here I am a few months later, having more of an understanding of the financial like opportunities that come out of cryptocurrency. So that's kind of like a little bit about me. In terms of like HR, I've been in HR for a while. I've been in tech for the past 2.5 years. I originally was going to go to law school. I have my bachelor's in English, and I was going to go to law school, but student loans are real. So I had to pivot quickly. So that's kind of what led me to HR, because I had to think about transferable skills, which we'll talk about a little bit later probably. That's how I ended up in HR. So I'll pass it over to Cameron.
Thank you, Tamia. I appreciate you. Hello and good day to you, students. I'm super excited to be with you all today. I want to issue thanks to Coinbase and the FinTech Center for inviting me back. My name is Cameron Knight. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a current associate in the AI lab at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Now, it's worth noting that I might not be quite as tenured in industry as my incredible co-panelists are. I've been at the firm for a whopping 4 whole weeks already. So in a sense, I do see myself in each of you. Not even a year ago, I was in your shoes when I was exploring my fit within the tech space too. But if I were to kind of take a step back to see the steps that preceded to me arriving to my current career, I can't help but recall my underlying passion and general interest for all things computer technology. Now, I came from the public school system, so I didn't feel like there were a whole ton of opportunities to really flex that passion and explore the career field. But fortunately, I was raised by a single mother who was insistent that my sister and I push beyond a high school education and aspire to become first-gen college grads. For my undergraduate degree, I also attended Hampton University, so I want to send a little bit of love to my HBCU family out there. It was here where I studied business administration and finance, albeit I was able to feed that thirst for computer science through electives and extracurriculars all the while. Now, last summer, for example, I did have the distinct pleasure of joining the FinTech Center second annual Battle for the Cryptos. The competition was honestly my launch pad into FinTech. I can think of no better way to get your feet wet than in a competitive yet educational space such as this. So that's a little bit about me. Darren, I'm going to swing it back to you.
Thank you so much. Honestly, it's a joy to hear everyone's journey into crypto. And Cameron, your story especially is amazing. I feel like the crowd can relate. You talked about the Morgan State FinTech Center being a launch pad, and I actually want to introduce Nahit to talk more about the Morgan State FinTech Center, because I think that is just an amazing opportunity. And I think we really want to like leverage these opportunities to bring more people into crypto. Again, a theme is kind of like we're helping each other out. There are referrals that are giving people opportunities to join. So with that, Nahit, I want to welcome you to the stage.
Thank you, everybody. First of all, Darren, that was a great video you showed in the beginning, and thank you all for coming, the panelists, the students. I am Nahit Raval. I'm the president of the Morgan State's Blockchain and FinTech Society. And on behalf of the society, I'd like to welcome everybody, especially the panelists, for coming, taking out the time and sharing all your thoughts with us. And welcome everybody for the first program we're going to do this semester on how HBCUs are leading the mainstream crypto adoption. And I'll talk more about the FinTech Center and what we're planning towards the end. And I'll pass it on to Darren. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nahit. Okay, we're going to get the panel warmed up with a quick softball question. Now, we've all been in crypto for some time. You know, crypto is a wild ride. And I want to ask the group, like, what has been fulfilling about working in crypto, and what are some of the highlights, and what are some of the challenges that you have to push through? And I will start with Felice.
Thanks, Darren. So you mentioned that crypto is a wild ride. That is very accurate. I would say one thing that works kind of on the positive and maybe a downfall is that it's fast paced. It's constantly moving. But with that, that means there's always something to learn. There's a ton of growth opportunities with crypto. Whether you're talking about careers or whether you're talking about just learning more about crypto and decentralized finance, those opportunities are endless. And the good thing about it is you don't have to be in finance or technology to understand that. All you need is a passion for learning. And so that's one of the reasons why I really like working at Coinbase, is because there is so much for me to learn. I think just this past Friday, Joel was giving me information and some other people on the team were just like, hey, here you go. This is how you can learn this and that. So that is one of my most favorite things about being in crypto.
That's a great segue. Joel, I'll ask you the same question. What is fulfilling about working in crypto? Why should someone be excited to join this industry at this time?
Honestly, it's incredible. Just from last year to this year, I look at my own finances and just how I've been interacting with it. And typically, I've normally just used my little Chase account. But over the course of the year, majority of my finances are now flowing through Coinbase, and I'm using that as my primary financial system, that or my Solana wallet. So just seeing that shift, even within my own finances and how it's benefiting me, is another thing. Also, just to learn about how quickly this is essentially changing many different countries. Almost every different country is talking about regulation on crypto or how they can incorporate it. Banks are trying to create their own digital currencies. And it's essentially like, if you look at Visa, one of the largest payment giants, and compare that to Ethereum, I think Ethereum last year did $11.6 trillion in transactions, and Visa did 10.4. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's a huge aspect right there. So for your financial wellness, crypto can be a very fruitful opportunity. Joel, I'm at the CCU about some Bitcoins. It sounds like you invested at the right time. But on the finance side, I do want to tag in Cameron, because I know, Cameron, you are the winner of the Morgan State FinTech competition. So I'm really curious what crypto means to you.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Darren, as you know, the crypto space is host to a transformative technology that has the potential to revolutionize just about every single industry imaginable across the globe. But just like our video mentioned earlier, to globalize currency means to globalize communication and remove the middleman. Now, adopting digital currency would mean optimized security, you've got increased liquidity and stability. So although I don't necessarily currently work in the crypto industry, it can be said that I do see the value in DeFi, regardless of the volatility that we all love.
Absolutely. And I'm sure as financially savvy, you know that volatility might be an opportunity. So there's always more room there to continue stacking your stats.
Absolutely.
And to me, I'm curious what cryptocurrency means to you. You've already talked about why you joined. I want to just hear more about what's exciting about this opportunity.
I think what's exciting, I have a 2-year-old who's about to be 3 in a couple of weeks. My heart is breaking already. And as I look at what responsibilities that I have as his mother, cryptocurrency for me it's a forum and a vehicle for creating generational wealth, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that, in my family, no shade to my mom, no shade to my dad, love them dearly. But growing up, they didn't understand what that looked like. And they didn't understand how to have those conversations about investments and just stocks and things of that nature. And so crypto has been able to help me to expand my financial literacy. So I can have these conversations with my son and give him, I just jokingly mentioned student loans. No, student loans are real for me, but I don't want that to be real for my son. I don't want him to have to make some of the decisions that I had to make solely because of financial constraints, So that's kind of crypto in a nutshell for me. It's just about generational wealth and creating a life for my son that I have, but I want to create for him.
That's absolutely beautiful. And I'm glad you touched on the piece of generational wealth. And we talk about stories of being the first in your generation to go to college, to get a corporate job, to have this type of opportunity to build wealth. A lot of people broadly might see crypto as an investment, but maybe for a particular community, it's much more than that. It is something that truly transforms a generation. I think it's an opportunity that we need to be taking advantage of, because this is a particular point in time where we're seeing the largest wealth transfer of our generation. And what we need to do is not only be aware, but be active. We need to be engaged. One of the most engaging topics of 2021 has been NFTs. And I want to spend some time asking questions about this. So in September 2021, Insider Magazine published an article titled, "Black Artists Are Banking on NFTs to Diversify the Industry and Create Community." With the traditional industries being invite only, how has this NFT craze led to a lasting change in equity for the Black community? And again, Felice, I'm going to start with you.
Darren, I'm starting to feel like you're picking on me. But I think honestly, I'm going to give a very simple answer. The answer is accessibility. I think that's something that our community has struggled with, not by any fault of our own, but in order for us to be able to take advantage of some of these invite-only areas and take advantage of some of these things that create the kind of wealth that our community is yet to see, we have to be able to access it. And I think everybody out there, you've heard us say things like, decentralized finance or economic freedom. That's really some of the basis of crypto. So in order for us to kind of take advantage of this, we just have to have accessibility. Everybody has a smartphone at this point, for the most part. Everybody has internet, and we're able to utilize some of these tools that we probably spent our, teenage years and 20s playing around with, not knowing that one day it would make us money. And so at this point, you don't have to have an invitation to come to, use crypto or use NFTs. There are no gatekeepers. You can say, hey, I have art. I know how to publish this art in a digital forum. And now I have an NFT that can, possibly break the mold. And not only do you have access to put your art out there, now you have access to other tools and other communities, and there are conversations taking place that weren't necessarily taking place before, all because we have this visibility and to say, you know what, oh my goodness, Darren is my neighbor. He makes NFTs too. And now we're having conversation about this. Or, hey, Cameron, I didn't know that, you were in the art. Take a look at this NFT. And it's just as simple as that. Like, we have the access, so now the conversations can take place. And that's where we're going to see the change and the equity come through for our community, in my opinion.
I think you're right on point with that. And I'm glad you also use the analogy of hey, my neighbor is doing NFTs. It kind of spreads. Like when one person's in it and they start to share it, they realize that we live in this era of abundance, and the idea is to grow the pie and spread information and give people the opportunity now that it is accessible. So I also want to pass it to Cameron. Cameron, I'm curious your thoughts on NFTs, this whole craze that we're seeing. And don't even be afraid to be contrarian. If you have a real opinion, please share it with us.
Now, Darren, you beat me to it. I know that I'm not the most NFT savvy guy, but what my research has proven is that regardless of what your position is on NFTs, there's countless successful Black artists that have proven that with the proper support, the Black NFT space is uplifted through art pieces, through promotion, and even event hosting. So what I'd recommend is if you are a current or prospective NFT owner, join in on as many Black NFT communities created around these products. Just like Felice mentioned, equal access is key here. And that was something that we've really been lacking in the past. And I think it's important that we take advantage of the opportunity now.
Absolutely. And Tamia, I'd be curious what your comments are on NFTs, and then we're going to pass it to Joel as well.
Yeah, I actually think it is Felice is spot on. I think it comes down to Black voices being able to enter spaces that we traditionally have not been allowed to be in, right? And so when we look at those higher end art galleries or just museums, it has been invite only, and it has been hey, this one family had this invite for 100 years and they weren't allowing anybody else into that space, right? So I think it's just about how we can now have more visibility to broader markets, to broader audiences, without having to rely solely on getting into nuanced places that we just haven't more difficult time operating within. So like that's just my kind of like high level thoughts. But I think Felice, like spot on.
Absolutely. You've all been talking about accessibility, and I like how both you and Cameron were being intentional about what kind of community we want to support now that we do have this opportunity. So Joel, I do want to pass it to you for any last comments on NFTs. I'm curious if you do have a favorite NFT project that you're following right now.
So honestly, I initially was on the fence about NFTs. I was one of those individuals like, I don't get it. These are just overpriced JPEGs. Essentially, you know, do I really own it? You can copy and paste these and, you know, essentially I can take your NFT by copying and pasting. But what I really learned from paying closer attention to the space is that it doesn't, by copying and pasting someone's NFT, you're actually adding value. It's like if you were to, you know, take a picture of the Mona Lisa, that doesn't negate the value of the Mona Lisa's picture. And I think, Felice, you nailed it. Accessibility is just, it's key. The art industry has been very exclusionary in the past, and this really opens it up to, you know, many different communities, and particularly our community. We should definitely, you know, get in on this and make sure that we're supporting Black artists that are minting new NFTs out there. I know that just in the past of like social media, like within our community, we've created so many memes, so many GIFs, and those individuals never got paid for it. But if there had been NFTs at that time, they could have been compensated for that. So I think that's really the value of it.
I love it. I love it. When it comes to NFTs, my perspective is that we live in this era of like culture-fi, and what we can do now is tokenize culture. There's a financial aspect to it. And then what's beautiful is the strongest NFT projects are actually communities. So I'm sure if you hop into one or any of these Discord channels, you can see that there's messages flying left and right. But what that's really doing is like, it's bridging more people into this crypto ecosystem. It's giving them a safe space to ask questions, and really just like, you know, share their talents, right? Build community. It's community online. It's borderless and completely accessible. All right. Well, we've covered NFTs, which is probably the word of 2020. Now I want to talk a little bit about like the tech industry, because we're all, well, most of us are workers in the corporate space, and especially here at Coinbase. So in 2018, according to Silicon Valley Bank, only 1% of venture capital dollars went to Black startup founders, and Black employees made up only about 3% of Google's technical roles. That same theme applies broadly across tech companies in general. We're talking percentages from 3 to 6 at the company. So representation statistically is lower than what's reflected in the community. These numbers are slowly changing though, and more companies are keeping the door open for Black talent, and opportunities like Remote First are giving us opportunities to hire more talent where they're at. What advice would you give to anyone who's entering this industry, especially if you're going to feel highly underrepresented? And I'm going to give that question initially to Cameron, because I'm curious what your perspective is.
Absolutely. Now, Darren, I'm going to backtrack with that question a little bit. I want to start with preparedness. Preparedness is key, regardless of what kind of space you're coming into. Well before even entertaining the idea of interning or even working in tech, you've got to use your resources. Now, +1 to the FinTech Center. Their upcoming programming is a huge ad and a great place to start. You can use what you learn, evaluate what you're looking for in a future career. You can know what topics you might want to dive deeper into, and never stop upskilling. But once you've got that career opportunity on lock, it's important to connect with people within the organization that you find relatable. This can take the form of other Black employees, maybe an HBCU grad also, maybe individuals that are aligned to inclusion networks that you're interested in. And taking these steps will allow you to get comfortable with your company while building out your professional network at the same time. So that would be my advice, Darren.
That's great advice. I love how you talk about finding people within the organization who are relatable, about using your resources. I hope everyone here in the audience sees us as a resource, shout out to Morgan State and the FinTech Academy. Like that's an amazing resource. There's opportunity that's out there. And sometimes a harder thing is just asking, right? Like asking that question. To me, I would actually be really interested in your experience at Coinbase, and let us know how long you've been at the company, and just any advice that you would give.
Yeah, so I've been at Coinbase 5 months, actually. I think 5 months next week. So been a little, in Coinbase years, that's like a whole 6 years. So I will say that I spent the majority of my career in corporate, and I didn't feel like I had a space. I didn't feel, although the diversity was there, actually didn't feel like I could be authentically myself. The past 2 years in tech, I have actually found that although the representation may not be larger in terms of like the actual metrics and the sizes of like people of color in the organization, I actually have felt more sense of psychological safety in tech than I have in 9 years in corporate. So I challenge people who let that fear of underrepresentation drive them to like maybe be like a barrier to their decisions to joining, because I personally have found that connectedness with other people that I related to that has helped to what someone has termed for me to activate my own superpowers that I didn't even know I had. But because I had that sense of community, I was able to be the best version of myself. I'm very authentic to who I am. They know if my lashes are done, my life is in shambles. My managers asked me last week, like, are you okay? How can I support you? Because it's looking a little rough over here. And that's the level of connectedness that you have. My manager's a woman of color, and it's like, we get it, And so I absolutely agree that, the ERGs, those are opportunities to capitalize on, because we have a very strong ERG presence. We get introduced, I think Trey introduces like new hires, like probably their second day. That's wonderful. That's welcoming, that creates that community. But I definitely wouldn't use just the sheer demographic data as a deterrent. I would actually use that as like a motivator for you to feel comfortable to step in the space, make your mark, and own it.
I love that. Step into your space, own your identity. I think those are two huge like takeaways for anyone who's on the outside looking in. Personally, I've worked in tech. I've also worked in Big Four. So Cameron, I understand the environment that you're working in. And obviously we're all, members here at Coinbase. I definitely think that the strength of community is, I wish something that showed up on the stat sheet, because to me, as you were mentioning, our color block ERG really does a great job of welcoming people in, making them feel like community, and then doing some really cool opportunities, right? Like we'll do an NFT workshop, we'll continue to build the community. So the reason I rant on this is just to make you aware that once you're in, like the community is very strong, and we all get it. So Felice, I actually want to ask for your perspective on this. I know you might have been in the company for a little bit longer. So, tell us what it's been like.
Yeah, so a little bit longer. I started at the end of June, so 7 months. I might have 2 months on Tamia. But I think what's really important to recognize, Tamia touched on this, is your own superpower. Like, we know that we're underrepresented in this industry, right? But that does not mean that we're not good enough. So you have to tap into what it is you really are trying to do. If you want to work in tech, you will get a job in tech. You're going to have to dedicate yourself to that. And something that you said, Darren, that's really important is like, once you get in, you will find a space, right? And I will say that working at Coinbase is probably the most myself I have been able to be. At Coinbase, this is more about, look, we hired you to be a top performer. Come in, let's share your knowledge. Let's get this work done. We're not concerned about you being a number on the stat sheet, right? We're concerned about you doing the job that we hired you to do. So in that, the advice that I want to give to anybody who might be trying to break into tech, or maybe in tech and want to go into a different lane, right? Maybe you want to go from project management to software engineering. Be knowledgeable. Know what you want to do. Like, it doesn't mean you have to know everything, but just know what you want to do. And then from there, the pieces will fall into place. Be very determined about what you're trying to do. Don't let anybody stop you. I tell my nieces and nephews all the time, the only limit that exists is in your mind. If you think you can do it, you can do it. Don't put a time limit on yourself. Don't box yourself in. There's nothing about that. Like, yes, it's complicated, but a lot of stuff is complicated. So if it's something you really want to do, it's out there. And then when you get in, Cameron, I don't know if they still do this at Hampton, but the philosophy was to live while climbing. You got into tech, bring somebody with you. There's somebody else out there that looks like you, that went to a school that looks like yours, maybe went to your school. Bring them with you. And then at the same time, develop that network. Find somebody else that went to an HBCU at your job. Find somebody else that just identifies with you as a person, and they'll help you do the same. And you just pull that chain up. And then that way, we won't be underrepresented anymore. We'll have a nice pool of candidates that everybody loves and wants to choose from.
I love that. I love that. So you talk about lift while climbing, and later we're going to bring on Daniel to talk more about the opportunities here at Coinbase. But just mentality wise, I love how you're saying we're going to come in. We know top talent is on our network. We're going to bring more people into this space. I think everything you talked about was like the embodiment of act like an owner, because in tech, it is definitely a performance culture. We want you to be you. We want you to come in and be your best self and find your superpower. So those things are extremely powerful. Joel, I also want to pass it to you for your comments on any advice for breaking into tech, and even specific to the crypto industry.
First, be ready to learn. That is key. Just in looking to learn and dive into Web3, you'll find opportunities there and people that are looking for people that are ready to contribute and ready to learn. The other thing is imposter syndrome is very real. Don't downplay yourself. Move with confidence. Everyone feels it, no matter how long you've been in the industry, whether that be a year, 2 years, 3 years, you will always encounter imposter syndrome, but don't let that keep you down. Push forward. And like Cameron mentioned, network is very key. There was an individual that reached out to me to help just mentor them through LinkedIn. She got a job at an ed tech company. So just be willing to reach out. People will help you. And then with that in mind, reach back, reach out to others and help them along as well. And you do that, you'll be sitting pretty good.
That's great advice, Joel. And I'm glad that you touched on the imposter syndrome piece as well. That's something that all people feel. It is very normal. And what I love about our ERG is that we identified that, and we wanted to support our employees with a pilot program. So we said, we're actually going to just, offer career coaching as a service. And I know personally that was extremely helpful for me, because as we're in this performance culture and you're expected to always be at your top and you're continuing to push and grow, that imposter syndrome can creep in and you can start to doubt your own abilities. And I will just give a shout out to the ERG and the BID team, because I think that was something that unlocked the superpower within our ERG. And I think that that's something that we all, regardless of if you're at Coinbase or not, should take away, is that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to tap your network in areas where you're weak. So just a quick shout out for that. So now I know we're getting close and we want to get to the Q&A section. This is going to be our last question. We're going to go rapid fire, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A and talk more about opportunities. So companies like Coinbase and PwC aren't looking solely for coders and accountants. What are ways that people can break into this industry, and what skills do they need? Are there any resources that you would all recommend for someone who's looking to break into this space? And I'm going to start with Tamia.
Okay, I am actually going to take that question and apply, almost break the imposter syndrome, right? Which is, you don't possess these skills. You do, and you got to think about it. I don't care if, I was a waitress. I worked at Applebee's when I was in college, and from that, I gathered a lot of de-escalation skills, a lot of multitasking skills, a lot of prioritization skills. There were a lot of skills that came out of seemingly like an unrelated, role that I have as an HR business partner. Oh, it's related and it helped. And so I would challenge people to think about the skills that they do possess and how that correlates to where they see themselves going into their next, career opportunities, and actually just start to capitalize and advance those. Because the on-the-job learning, you'll get there. It'll come. We learn every day, all day. But definitely, I want you to own the things that you do well and be confident about the things that you do well. So that's what I would definitely say that. From an HR perspective, I would be remiss in not highlighting that LinkedIn Learning has been one of the best like platforms for me to learn things that I don't know, which it may seem like LinkedIn Learning. Yes, y'all have an issue, search LinkedIn Learning. I guarantee you there's a video, there's a training on it. So that would be definitely an opportunity if you are wanting to further your acumen in a particular area to leverage that resource.
Perfect. Have a question, find the answer through LinkedIn Learning. Felice, I want to go to you. Quick question.
Yes, I echo LinkedIn Learning. I love it. It's very accessible. So as a project manager, I really kind of identify with what Tamia said. All skills are transferable. To be a project manager, you really just have to be a leader and you have to be organized. You have to be able to problem solve. These are all, things that me, Joel, Darren, we probably all use those from day to day. There's nothing special about these skills. It's really about how you apply them. What are you taking on? I talked earlier about being determined, being focused. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to know what direction you want to go in. I will say that networking is a huge thing, but when I was in school, they didn't necessarily tell us what networking was. They just said, go network. And we're like, all right, we're talking to people. What happens now? But really just being able to reach out. It doesn't have to always be about getting a job. It could just be, hey, I want to have a conversation with you. I want to talk about the game last night, or I want to talk about what you do at work. Just something to get that relationship started so that if you ever do have a specific career question or you need help, you have that relationship already prepared. And you guys are continuing to cultivate, and that way you can grow it. In terms of project management resources, I always encourage people to look at their local project management chapter, PMI.org, Project Management Institute. They have a chapter pretty much in each city. And if you want mentoring to be a project manager, that's a good place to go. LinkedIn is a good place to go. Just go and type in project manager in the search and see who might be in your network to do that. And then also just lean on your school. I know that Hampton has a career center, and any of the features of the career center are available to the alumni and to the current students. So I'm going to assume that your HBCUs have the same thing, and really just figure out how you can prepare yourself. Just take an assessment and take it step by step, and don't time box yourself.
Beautiful. I love it. Remember, your network is your net worth, and also go seek those resources. Cameron, real quick, I want to ask you the same question.
Yeah, Darren, so all in all, my story, it still feels a little bit surreal to even look back on, because there were plenty of times where imposter syndrome may have snuck in, where I felt stuck, overwhelmed, or even discouraged at times. But there's two ideals that I never let go of, and that is a passion for learning and a love for life. In the times that I felt like I didn't know something or I was coming up short, I upskilled. I used my resources. I met with the people that did know. And like Felice said, that's when you're meeting with people that are reaching back while climbing. I dedicated myself to take the time to understand the material until it was practically like clockwork. And secondly, a love for life. I told you guys I was going to be quick. This is an important one, but above all else, you need to do the things that you love. Do the things that you love because you want to do them, not because there's some expectation for you to do them. Set your own goals and expectations and never lose that love for life. I need you all to understand that in order to work in tech, you've got to think like a technologist. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be an expert at writing code, have a robust portfolio, or even be an expert in anything computer science related, because tech is a way of thinking. You don't need to fit a precise mold in order to work in the field. But I assure you, you do need to have a passion for learning and a love for life at any company.
Great advice. More life, more everything. Joel, I'm going to pass it to you, and you can wrap us up on this section before we dive into the Q&A.
Cool. So I'll try to be brief. So you mentioned resources. I am a coder, so I'm going to give those resources first. Web3 University, Free Code Camp. There is a website called web3.career. Give you everything you need to know for diving into Web3 as a developer, as well as if you want to learn Solidity, questbook.app. That's another good one. I'm teaching myself Solidity currently off of that platform. For those that are not in tech, Bankless HQ, an amazing podcast, an amazing platform. You will learn a lot just by listening to those different podcasts. If you do the subscription is $22. If you get that subscription, they have a job board that you can even, hit up from their website. And finally, Odyssey DAO is another great resource. And that particular platform, you don't have to be a coder. That just teaches like how to use crypto, how to invest and take advantage of some of these financial tools. So those are the resources, get out there and get after it.
Nice. Joel, you just dropped some gems. All the ones that you listed there are top tier ones that I personally follow myself. Something like Bankless is super accessible, just like listen in, learn through osmosis. Web3 University, Odyssey DAO. I want to put a list together so I could share that with the group, just because every single one of those that you dropped was a gem. So thank you all. And really, like, round of applause to our panelists. Thank you guys so much for crushing it. We're going to move to the Q&A portion where people have asked their questions. And I'm going to just read off some of the top ones, and we're going to rapid fire. So what are some ways to undercut the gas fee that might make it harder for low-income communities to get involved? And Joel, I want to pass this one to you.
So this is one thing that has prevented me from getting into DeFi. And for me, I personally have found two different routes. One, Solana. Solana, the fees and the gas fees are super low. You're talking about 99 cents. I just got my Phantom Solana mobile wallet that is on iOS. I use my Apple Pay and crypto card to buy Solana directly through that. And that allows me to use the crypto card, get 4% back, and the fee is only 99 cents. So I actually make money on my trade. Then you have L2s, which are built on top of Ethereum. So if you want to transact, I would recommend Polygon as an alternative to transacting directly on Ethereum. And that's the direction that the Ethereum network is going to be going.
Great answer. Next question here. Is Coinbase working on DAO tooling to help onboard communities into crypto? I'm going to leave that one open. Tamia, do you have any familiarity with this? And if you don't, I have some comments that I can add here.
I would defer to you.
All right. DAO tooling. Yes, DAO tooling is an area that is continuing to develop in the crypto industry. I won't say anything about Coinbase products explicitly, but I know that there are a number of DAO tooling organizations that are trying to build DAOs better and make it easier to onboard. And my one recommendation would be to find the community that resonates with you. So there are Web3 communities that I feel like are doing a better job of onboarding people, because what they do is they offer a safe space for you to go ask questions, feel like a beginner in crypto, get matched with someone who's going to actually walk you through all of the steps. So look for Web3 communities as far as onboarding. And then as far as DAOs maturing over time, tooling will be the foundational element that lets them scale up and actually continue to iterate on whatever they're working on. All right. Question number 3. What NFTs do the hosts have interest in and / own? Will there be an opportunity to network with the hosts after the event is over? I'll pass it to the group. Does anyone here have an NFT project that they're explicitly excited about? And you can just raise your hand. I'll tag you in. And if you don't, I'm happy to talk about NFT projects that I'm in. All right. One project that I'm really excited about, Aku Chapters by Micah Johnson. The story goes, there is a young Black student. He asked the question, can I be anything that I want to be in life? and he wants to be an astronaut. So Aku wears his helmet, symbolic of, yes, I can be whatever I want to be. But go check out the NFT collection. They're not just JPEGs, they're actually like full videos, full stories. So it's a vibrant universe. It's one that I'm following. There's so many more. If you're more interested in that particular piece, I'd say see the Afrotech presentation that myself and Trey gave on both DAOs and NFTs. And in there, we actually highlight Black projects that we are following, supporting, more resources to find out more about that. All right. With 5 minutes left, I do want to transition and I want to welcome Daniel to the stage. And Daniel works here at Coinbase on a recruiting team and can tell us more about some of the opportunities that exist at Coinbase.
Thanks, Darren. Hey, everyone. My name is Daniel. As Darren mentioned, I am a recruiter on the university recruiting team here at Coinbase. For anyone who's interested in opportunities at Coinbase, you can view all of our current open roles by scanning this QR code and apply directly online. When you're submitting your application, one, please be sure to utilize the same email that you used when signing up for this event. And then two, the final question in the application asks, how did you hear about this job? Make sure you select on-campus recruiting. These two will help us tie your profile together and will help our recruiting team identify your application for us to review them quicker. Thanks so much.
Yay, I'm excited. I can't wait to see how many of you go scan this QR code. Believe in yourself. You have the skills. Apply. You are ready. We need you here. So please take advantage of all of that. I want to give one last round of applause to all of our amazing panelists and all the people who helped pull this event off. Shout out to all of you. Thank you for lending your time and your expertise. Gave amazing responses, some contrarian viewpoints and all of that. With that, I think we are closing out the session, and I want to pass it to Nahit to give us some closing comments.
First of all, thank you, everybody. Again, a shout out to all the panelists, for sharing all the information with us, sharing your experiences, how you got into technology. I think that was really helpful for students, and it motivated me, especially the video and, you guys talking about your careers. And I just wanted to mention that the FinTech Center is planning to have the second Battles of Crypto, which Cameron mentioned before. And I wanted to just thank everybody for even, mentioning the FinTech Center. And I think it's a resource which all the students can use. And I believe we have your emails. So be for a lookout because we're going to start planning some more events on March. And I believe it's going to be the first week of March where we'll plan on Battles of Crypto. And thank you, everybody, for joining.
I echo all of that. Thank you all for joining. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.